You've built an awesome report in Excel. A user can move between company A and company B and the numbers update automatically. It's amazing. However, your boss says 30 million for company A. Can't we just display that as 30.0? So of course you apply the number formatting. The issue then is as soon as you move to company B, it displays 0.0. That's not what we want. We need to display a different number depending on the significance of those numbers. So how can we do that? That's what we're looking at in this video. We've got two ways of looking at it. So if you're ready, let's get started. Our first solution uses the text function. Here we have a table. It contains the threshold. So this is at the point at which the number format should change, what number format we want at each threshold, and what unit will be displayed at the top of each column. So let's work out how we get the number format. In here, type equals index. I'm going to use index match for this. And we want to return the format. And we want to return that where the match. And we want to match the value of the sale. So that's 30 million. We want to match that from our threshold column. And the match type we want is going to be less than. So that'll be a type of 1. We'll close the match, we'll close the index and press return. So now you see that for company A, this is the number format that we want to apply. Right, we'll now use the text function. Equals text, open bracket, and we want our value, so that's the value in C10, and we want to apply the format from cell C4. I'll press F4 to lock that in, close the bracket and press return. That now displays as 30.0, so that's 30.0 million. We'll copy that cell, and now let's paste that formula into the other cells that we need. So I'll right click and then go to paste formulas. So now we have all the numbers that we need. However, these aren't really numbers. They're actually text, which looks like a number. So that means we do need a way of calculating our numbers that we can then display them as text. Now we also need to display our unit at the top to make it clear what these numbers are. We're going to select our previous formula. I'll come back to cell D8, paste that formula and then change it so that it returns the unit rather than the format. So now when we switch between company A and company B, you can see for company B it now says it's 30,000. So that format is working. It gives us a different format depending on whether it's company A or it's company B. Now you might think this is no use because we now have a column with the original values. Well, we either calculate those values somewhere else and bring them into our text function, or we can always hide our column and now all we see is the numbers that we need. The second method that we could apply uses conditional formatting. Now for this example, I have cell linked to each of the values in column C. We don't have to. We could apply the conditional formatting straight to the values in column C, but I wanted to make sure that we had a before and after comparison. So I'm going to start by copying the format that we want to apply. Then I'll select the cells that we want to apply the conditional formatting to. Then from the home ribbon, I'll go to conditional formatting and select new rule. In here, I want to use a formula to determine what values I want to format. And I'll use equals the absolute of $E $10. So that is our first value. And because I've used dollar signs, it means that everything will be applied based on that first value. So I want to know whether the absolute value of E10 is bigger than or equal to 0. This now brings up the Format Cells dialog box. I'll click on Custom, and then in the Type box, we can enter the number format that we want to apply. We've already got ours in this scenario because I copied it earlier, so I'll paste that into that box. I'll click OK and then OK again. So you can see that that number now looks as 30,000. It's not exactly the same as the format we had before, and that's because we need to add another conditional format. So for my next format, I'll copy that, then I'll apply this to the same cells, conditional formatting and then new rule. The formula we want to use is exactly the same, equals, so the absolute value from $E $10. I'll close that bracket and I want that where it's bigger than or equal to 1 million. then we'll apply our number format. So we'll go to custom and we'll paste our number format in there. Then I'll click OK and OK again. So now you see that we have the same format as we had for our text function. We would, if we had more numbers, have to add an additional conditional format for each of our thresholds. But because we've only got 2 in this example, let's just apply the 2 that we've got. So now when we change from company A to company B, you can see that that conditional formatting now applies. Let's get our same unit. So we'll apply that. Fantastic. So now we can easily switch between company A or company B, and we get the right level of significance based on those values. And that's it. That's how we can create a single report and display numbers with different units and a different level of significance. Now, if we try to apply the text function method, it means we do have to calculate those numbers and then apply that text function. If we use the conditional formatting method, we have to create a conditional format for each threshold. So there's pros and cons of each method. Which you apply is up to you. I'm sure one of them will meet your requirements. If you like this video, why not subscribe and catch our future videos? Also, why not head over to excelthegrid.com/academy and check out our training courses. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.